Hi, and welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. The Chinese Communist Party is furious again. To be more specific, the Chinese regime is furious about THAAD, or Terminal High Altitude Area Defense. That's the system the US is installing in South Korea to protect against a North Korean missile strike.
The only thing I want to emphasize is that we resolutely oppose the deployment of THAAD in South Korea.
How dare the United States try to help protect its ally from a rogue regime's nuclear weapons that it was able to develop because of support from the Chinese regime. I mean, it's not like China is going around building missile defense systems for other countries. Oh, so apparently China is helping Pakistan build something similar to THAAD called LOMADS. LOMADS stands for Low to Medium Altitude Air Defense System. LOMADS also describes how the Chinese regime feels about THAAD, a low level of constant MAD. LOMADS is capable of tracking and destroying targets that, you guessed it, fly at low to medium altitudes. Let's just hope those made-in-China rockets don't explode prematurely like those Chinese watermelons. So why is China helping Pakistan build a missile defense system? Because India. Well, not only India, but according to this congressional report, Beijing has long exploited the long-standing rivalry between India and Pakistan, aiming to keep India so preoccupied with its western neighbor that it will not have the ability to mount a serious challenge to China's power and influence in Asia. That's also one of the reasons why China helped Pakistan build its first nuclear bomb, as well as Pakistan's indigenous ballistic missile capability. You see, China and India don't really get along. It's kind of like when you have that one next-door neighbor that you dislike because he's harboring a certain spiritual leader in his house, after that leader fled your house that was really kind of his house that you liberated him from. Also, you and this neighbor briefly went to war over who owns the big oak tree that grows in the middle of your shared property line. But more importantly, India has the potential to be a major economic rival to China. India's GDP is growing rapidly. It recently even surpassed Great Britain, which is a delicious irony if you're not from Great Britain. India, like China, has a huge population, around 1.2 billion people. But India has a distinct advantage. India's population is mostly young, while China's is rapidly aging. And that's why, boys and girls, brutal population control is not the best long-term policy. Anyway, China has been undermining India in a variety of ways. They've sent nuclear submarines into the Indian Ocean. And more recently, China blocked a motion to add a Pakistani terrorist leader to a UN Security Council blacklist. India, for its part, hasn't let China's actions go unnoticed. They're seeking a $2.5 billion deal with Israel for their own missile defense system. The Indian one will be called LRSAM, which is based on the Israeli one called Spider. Come on, Israel. That is really stretching the acronym thing. Although I guess it is the only one that comes close to an actual word. At the end of last year, India also purchased a Russian-made missile defense system that will be delivered by 2020. It's called the S-400 Triumph, which is not an acronym at all. It's just what you get when you ask a first grader to spell a word they've never heard before. But it's still pretty impressive. Look at this long list of aircraft this Russian-made missile system can shoot down. Wait a minute, those are all American planes. Oh, Russia. Anyway, India is building up its missile defenses. For many observers, this is understandable because India has had several wars with Pakistan. Just like it's understandable that South Korea and the US are building THAAD because North Korea has threatened to turn Seoul and Washington into a heap of ashes. Which is a totally stupid threat. It should be heaps of ashes, plural. Obviously, Seoul and Washington would be two separate heaps. Anyway, while China is helping Pakistan build a missile defense against India, China is hypocritically complaining about the US helping South Korea build a missile defense against North Korea. But it's not just some crybaby complaint, it's a strategic crybaby complaint. As this report says, China hopes to create the impression that American defensive missiles, not China's new offensive missiles, threaten peace in Asia. Sound like a report on the current situation with THAAD in South Korea? Well, it's actually a report from 1999. This has been the Chinese regime strategy for a long time, since even before I came on the scene. The Chinese Communist Party has two goals in complaining about America's missile defense in South Korea. One, to ensure these missile defense systems can never be used against China. And two, to undermine American influence in Asia. So you can see why the Chinese regime might criticize THAAD, even as it helps Pakistan build LOMADs, while also keeping an eye on India's LURSAM, based on Spider, not to mention the S-400 Triumph, the insult comic missile defense system. So what do you think of China's concerns over THAAD and support of Pakistan's LOMADs? Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching this episode.